How's everybody?
It's been our privilege to have everybody back here at the Allen Reeves Football Complex today, give you all some access to our assistant coaches and members of our support staff. As Coach Swinney gets started, this press conference is being streamed live on Clemson Plus, as well as through several of our partners. So if you wouldn't mind, please
post that today.
If you all will, for the benefit of our partners and those listening via streaming, if you could please speak up and enunciate so that audience can hear your questions clearly, we greatly appreciate it. Coach Swinney will have some introductory comments, then we'll go to questions in the room. Coach.
All right, fun day. Hope you all have enjoyed spending some time in the building and getting a chance to be around all the staff. Got a great group of people, really just great people, first, and a bunch of good coaches, on top of that. So just excited about getting started as far as this next step of our 2025 journey. It's obviously not starting for us today. It's just kind of the next phase, as we've been, building to this point since January. Everything kind of builds as we go, and this is the next step. Getting back going. I got a senior meeting after this. We got a team meeting today, and then full staff kind of got back in here yesterday, and got our all-in meeting starting tomorrow. That'll be about 5 days of that. So a lot of stuff to do, in these next few weeks to kind of get the plane off the ground, if you will. A lot of housekeeping type things that we have to take care of. But it's been a good summer. It's a focus group. Proud of them. I'm excited to go meet with the leaders when I get out of here, and look forward to getting with the team. Hadn't really had a full team meeting in a few weeks, so good to get back in front of those guys. But they've handled themselves the right way, the leadership, and the guys that we really need to set the tone, I think, have done a good job of that. We're healthy. That's been a good thing. So hopefully we can, still got a couple weeks of training and some OTA type stuff where you get out on the field a little bit with some meetings, and that's something we do this phase as well. And then we'll start on the 29th as far as a couple days of kind of administrative meetings, and then first practice is the 31st, and then then you get into that step and that phase of camp and into school and then into your game prep. So fun time. I love this time of year. There's a ton of energy. You can just kind of feel it on campus, and it's awesome. It's great to see y'all. Hopefully y'all have all had a great summer as well, and enjoying some time, a little bit of downtime, whatever little downtime you get. Really probably never stops for y'all like it does us. There's always recruiting. There's always something going on, but it's excited to get back going. Got a good football team that again, I think is built to compete for our league, and I think everything starts there. And if you do great things in your league, then you have opportunities beyond that. But it all comes down to just trying to finish up the summer the right way, have a great fall camp, and get off to a good start. Excited to be at home for an opener. I think that's the first time since 2019. So I got a tough opponent, but heck, we played the Cowboys. It's just nice to be home for a change. So it's been a long time. You think about an opener. I haven't been here since 19. So I'm excited about that for our fans, our families, and our team. To be able to have such a great opponent in an opening game like we have. So a lot of excitement with that. But again, health-wise, we're in a good spot. Anticipate everybody being in camp. It's probably one of the things y'all wanted to ask about. I think only two ACL guys, Ari and Jay. They're doing great. They'll be in camp, but we'll probably, have them on a progression that fits where they are in their plan back to full speed, go and being released. So, but other than that, just again, hope it's been a great day for everybody, and look forward to answering your questions and getting this thing going.
Coach, what's the one thing that you're looking most forward to at your fall camp, from in between, or looking back up, in between what you saw in your spring game and going into fall camp? What's one of the things you're looking most forward to?
Just being a complete team. We had those of you that really cover us in the spring. Had a lot of guys that were out. We had a lot of postseason surgeries and things like that. But that's there's two sides to that. The downside is you like to have everybody all the time as a coach, but the plus side is boy, we got a chance to, Braden Jacobs got all those reps, right? Tristan Lee, I mean, we've seen him play a lot, things like that. We were able to get a ton of work for some of the young guys, but just being a complete team, getting everybody out there where we can really put it all together. Sadler, he was out all last year, out this spring, but that gave a lot of opportunity to the other guys. Elijah Thurman, wasn't able to go. His kid became a starter for us, and all of a sudden he's out. So just a very incomplete team in the spring, but we were able to do what we needed to do to develop our team. So that's the main thing, just see a complete football team, and then let's go do the work.
What's the competition at punter looking like?
I've got two guys, and I'd say Jack kind of came out just a smidge ahead in the spring, and so TBD. We'll see. We got a long way to go between now and game day, but really like the potential of both of those guys. But we got to see the performance consistently. We went and signed Jack because we really believe in him. It's not something that we just wished upon a star. We really believe in Jack Smith, and he earned a scholarship here, and it's his opportunity to go do it. And McCoon is another guy that we brought onto the team because we're like, this kid's got a real shot, and then he's risen up and he's competing. So I think we got really good competition there. And then Robert Gunn is another guy that has kind of got his hat in the ring as well.
Coach, you can feel the hype building for Cade Klubnik, and probably going to be growing more so as we get towards the end of the summer. But you've had a few guys that you talked to Taj today, Deshaun, obviously, Trevor, guys who have faced that and been able to block it out. Do you see Cade as one of those guys?
Well, I mean, last year this time they said he's terrible, so he had to block that out. I mean, it's the same thing. So, I mean, of course I see him as one of those guys because he had to do the same thing last year. Yeah, you got to block out that you suck. You got to block out that Swinney should have went and got a portal guy over you. You got to block out that we'll never win. You're just not going to get it done. You got to block that out. But you also got to block out, oh, you're the Heisman. Oh, you're the greatest thing ever. Literally 12 months later. All right, that's just part of it. Because there's always external narratives. There's always external opinions. That's all. That's just a part of what we do. And if you're a coach or you're a player, that can't be your motivation. And it can be fuel for you. I mean, it's good whether it's, it can be a little fuel. I always say it can be a little fuel for your fire, but it can't be the fire. Because if that's your fire, other people's opinions and narratives, if that's your fire, you're going to be really inconsistent. If your fire's got to come from within. It's got to be your purpose, your why, your foundation to your life. That's got to be your fire. And you grab any fuel when you can. If people want to give you some free fuel, you take it, right? So, I'm sure Cade's driven by the right things. And I'm sure he took a little fuel last year, but that's not his fire. Same thing this year. Oh, great. Oh, dang, it's nice. Y'all think I'm good? I'll take a little bit of that, but that's not his fire. A little fuel for him. So, I'm proud of him. He's done a great job. He's been here 3 years. He's a model dude, man. He's what you want. He's committed in every sense of that word. He's a leader. He's developed and gotten better, but he's got to take another step. He did that last year. The things that he needed to improve on, taking care of the ball, not taking a bunch of sacks and TFLs, and being a little more situationally aware, and pushing the ball down the field a little bit, and getting physically a little more mature. He did all those things, using his legs, being opportunistic with his legs, creating with his legs. He did all those things. But now it's more precision, more detail, more aware, all those things, just a little bit more. And if he does that, then he's going to have a great year because he's a winner. He's a great human being and just happens to be a quarterback. And I love the kid and proud of him, but, last year doesn't carry over. Just like I told him, the mistakes you made the year before don't have to carry over. But the great plays don't carry over either. You got to start over. We all start over. And you got to go and improve it each and every year. But, he's really experienced and he's done the work. And I think that's ultimately what determines your success is the work that you put in, when nobody's watching.
Coach.
LSU Coach Ryan Kelley said that that valley, so build that valley, and they got a bunch of guys.
Oh man, no! This is hey, I don't know the context. I have no idea. I don't. It's not like I'm sitting around watching press conferences and all that stuff. So I have no idea, But I got a lot of respect for LSU and Coach Kelley. I can tell you that. But I don't. I guess Coach who was it? Coach McMillan at PC. I guess that's where all that started. So I guess everybody can do their own research on that. But it'll be a great game in a great environment with two really, really talented football teams.
Coach, in addition to Cade, it seems like Clemson as a whole has been really positive in some of these preseason rankings versus where maybe they were last year in terms of the national attention. Do you think that's warranted, and how do you keep your team outside of Cade, really everyone in the building, focused on just themselves?
Hang on. Let me come back to that. I will say this, though. Who asked me the Brian Cook? Okay, yes, Brian Cook. Had a hilarious moment this summer. This is hilarious. Also, just really stupid on my part, but shocker. We went down to the beach, and there's a place called Grayton Beach down in the Panhandle, and I was with my brother hanging out, and they've been telling me that Brian Kelley. So there's a place called the Red Bar. It's a great little spot to eat down there. Anybody ever been to the Red Bar? Panay chicken. It's awesome, right? It's right there on Grayton Beach. Little spot. So my brother or my sister-in-law, she's saying, hey, Brian Kelley has a place. His wife has a gift shop right on the corner there in Grayton Beach. I'm like, oh, really? That's pretty cool. I had no idea. So anyway, we go there, and I walk off. So I go into the store. Me and Kath walking in the store. Kath buys something because she's trying to support Mrs. Kelley or whatever we're doing. So she buys something, and we go in the store, and I'm walking around. I go out, and they're like, yeah. And he's got a concert. He's going to have a concert in the back. So I'm like, okay, I'll walk out in the back. There's a little stage in the back, and there's like I think it's like fake grass or whatever, just a small little area. And it says, Brian Kelley, performing live on this day, whatever. And I'm going, freaking hey, Brian Kelley can sing, play. I didn't know that. So I'm like taking pictures, and I'm sending it to Brian Kelley. I'm sending all these pictures to Brian Kelley. And then I'm going, I get on the stage, Brian Kelley, I'm just kind of having some fun. I'm like, hey, I got, and I sent all this to Brian Kelley. All right. Well, then the guy that was with my brother, he's walking over because Cass said something about, I don't know what she said. I just can't believe that Brian Kelley, this is really cool. And she's, like, we know we played them or something in the opener or whatever to the guy. And he's like, what? And as it turns out, there's another Brian Kelley. And he's like, what's the band? Anybody know? It's something Florida Georgia Line or something. I think it's called Florida Georgia Line or Georgia Florida Line Band. Florida Georgia Line Band, and he's like a lead singer or something. And I've even heard their songs, but I don't know all these people's names. But I have no clue. So now Kath goes, babe, it's Brian Kelley's a singer with Florida Georgia Line. And I went, what? I've been fired all these pictures off to Brian Kelley. He's over there probably going, what the hell? This is an idiot. What is this dude doing? So anyway, good spirit. He doesn't know this. He'll know this now. But I was going to wait and tell him this when we got to midfield or whatever, but this will save me we can just laugh about it. So I'm thinking this is like the Brian Kelley. I'm like, wow, he's going to perform live, a small crowd. His wife's got a shop. And so finally he sends me a text. He's like, man, that was great. He said, yeah, you just can't get away from Brian Kelley or something like that. And I'm sure he was like, I have no idea what the context of this is. But anyway, and then I realized that it wasn't him. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, we'll have a laugh over that. But and to the actual Brian Kelley of Florida Georgia Line, hey, come play in the Valley sometime, man. I'd love to see you. But anyway. What was your question? I forgot. But you brought Brian Kelley up, and I spent in my head all summer. I'm like, oh my God, I'm an idiot.
I don't think it matters now. I can't follow up that story.
I don't know what the question was. What was it? Something about expectations.
You're getting a lot of national love now, which maybe the past couple of years Clemson wasn't getting in the same way. How do you deal with that and talk about that with your team?
I mean, we've been a target around here for a long time. I mean, whether they're talking bad about you, talking good about you, it doesn't matter. Expectations are always high here. They always have been. And they're all big. And if you don't believe that, just lose one. You'll find out how big they are at Clemson. They're all big. They're all big. Everybody's going to talk a lot about LSU game. Lose to Troy, you'll find out how big Troy is. They're all big. So the expectations are high every single year. It's just a part of being at Clemson. Some years they talk good about you. Some years they talk bad about you. But that doesn't have anything to do with the expectations. They're still going to be high at Clemson. So that's just a part of it. We embrace that. But as I always tell these guys, headlines this time of year, it's all based on opinions and potential. The headlines that matter are the ones that are written on performance. And those are the ones that ultimately matter in the end. It's fun to talk about. A lot of good stuff. It's what makes college football really cool. So much passion and interest and narratives and storylines and all these things and predictions and all that's part of it, and it's fun. But in the end, for us, what does our performance say? What did we earn? We're going to earn the headlines that matter.
Coach, we spoke a year ago, and I asked you about Christian Vizzina in the tight end room, and you said you believed he had the chance to be special. Now, with him, Olsen, Pat Henry, and a bunch of other talented players slated to take over that production that you're losing with Jake Brenningstool, what's your evaluation on your tight end room as of right now?
I think it's a very deep group. It's an exciting group. Olsen is a guy that is kind of the, he and Sapp. Nobody really says much about Sapp, but Sapp's a good football player. And he's a productive guy when he's had opportunities. Not as big, but he plays bigger than he is. He's very savvy, very instinctive. Olsen is I think he's really talented, and hopefully he'll take that next step for us. I'm really proud of him. He's a committed guy. He's a leader. Christian is special. There's no question about it. I mean, I've seen enough out of him, and we played him as 4 games last year, but with Brenny, we were able to hold him. Hopefully we can do that with Logan. We got another kid named Logan Brooking, who I think is special. But, hopefully we can kind of play him some, but maybe, hold him and steal a year. That'd be great. You just don't ever know. But I think those, Olsen and Sapp and Christian, it's a really good group of guys in that room. And then, you've got Logan. We'll see where he is. Obviously, Chef coming over. I can't wait. I probably should have said that. That's something else I'm looking forward to, is actually getting on the football field with Chef and seeing him in full pads. That's going to be a lot of fun. See if he'll actually block somebody. I don't know. But just see what he's going to look like in our drills and our 7-on-7s and, true RVA and things like that. I'm really looking forward to that. So I think that's a really good group. Banks Pope is back. He's another, savvy veteran. We got a kid named Charlie Johnson that I think is emerging and developing for us as a depth guy. So it's a good room. Got all the pieces that we need.
Coach, when somebody like Brian Kelley says something like, the real Brian Kelley says something like that.
Real Brian Kelley.
Is that bulletin board material that you use, or is that more ignore the noise and go forward? How do you treat it with the team?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to even use anything. I mean, these guys live in a world now where it's like, you know, I mean, I don't. It's not like I got to walk in and say, "Oh, guess what I heard?" You know, I mean, these guys all live in the world. We don't really focus on that stuff. I mean, we're just trying to. I mean, it's again, there's always fuel for the fire, and you can take whatever you want, whatever. Everybody's different. They can be motivated by, you know, different things along the way. You know, Michael Jordan used to make stuff up, right? Those of you who follow Michael Jordan, he'd just make stuff up, whether it was true or not, because that was how he motivated himself on some things. But you know, everybody's different in that regard. But it ain't gonna have nothing to do with blocking and tackling and executing on game day. So it makes it fun. But just go focus on what we got to do.
Coach Allen talked about a moment the two of you had in the spring, watching back I think it was a highlight of a defensive play, and he said all 11 guys flew to the ball, and that's what he wanted to see, and you guys kind of saw the potential in that. What's it going to take to kind of do that more consistently this fall camp?
Just one day at a time. I mean, you coach it every day. You demand it, and you always say you get what you inspect, not what you expect. And you got to coach it every day, demand it every day. And you create your game habits in practice. You don't create game habits on game day. You know, game habits are created in practice. So you got to practice that way. You got to coach that way every day. And if you do that, you got a good chance for it to carry over. And then you have accountability. You know, it's one of the things we do. We'll come in on Monday, and you don't want to be on the loaf tape. You know, so it's a daily thing as you're, you know, this time of year, every single practice, and especially when you're going to have the type of competition. There's a standard that we expect, and you got to hold everybody to the standard.
Coach Jordan Soros was talking earlier about the new landscape of college athletics, and two things that he mentioned were salary cap and contracts. Do you agree with him on those two? And also, when it comes to those two things, do you see that gaining any traction in the near future when it comes to college athletics?
Oh, man, who knows where everything's going. I think all I can tell you is we're in a better place right now than we were last year. That's for sure. And, you know, I think that there is a cap. You know, I think you got to drive the car. The four power conferences have created a new college, what's it called? College Sports Commission, I think is what it's called. And they've invested a lot of resources in putting that together. And so there's an infrastructure that has been put in place, but waiting on the settlement to happen to really activate. And I think it's, you know, I mean, we're all as coaches hoping that I'm sure we got to drive the car a little bit, and I'm sure there's some kinks and things that have to be worked out. But I think everybody wants some structure. You know, we're coming out of an era where there's been zero. There's been no structure, no transparency, no rules, none. And if there were rules, they weren't enforced. I mean, nobody knew them. So it's just kind of do whatever you want. And now we're, you know, appears to be heading into an era where there is supposed to be some transparency and some structure and consequences, you know. But, you know, I guess, again, we just got to, you know, it might take another year for it to really kind of settle because a lot of people front-loaded a bunch of money. And, you know, so, you know, the cap really doesn't start till July 1, and people knew that and anticipated that. So we'll see. It might take a year to really kind of sort things out and fall into place. But anything will be better from a structure standpoint than what we've had because we've had zero.
Mike Houston, he has a lot of experience, Mike Houston, a lot of experience in Western North Carolina where we are. What made him attractive to bring on this year?
I met Mike a long time ago when he was at Lenore Ryan. He came down here, and that was the first time I met him. And so I've just kind of tracked him from then. And when he was at James Madison, I had him come speak to our clinic. So just a guy that I've always had a lot of respect for, and he reached out to me, and you know, when he reached out, I had a conversation with him, and I'm like, you know what, this is something you want to do, it'd be a good opportunity, good fit for us, and so, you know, he's got a couple years left on his contract, so and he brings a lot to the table. I mean, this is it's a winner. I mean, he's been a head coach for a long time, and he, you know, certainly brings that perspective to the room. He's a defensive guy, and I think, and then he knows Tom. They had a little bit of a chemistry already, so just a good, you know, resource that's available that you didn't anticipate. So it was all positive and a great opportunity, great family, and glad to have him on board.
On the cap, you said there's supposed to be transparency and consequences. Do you have faith that that's actually going to?
I do, because I think that the commissioners and presidents and they put all that stuff together. They spent a bunch of money to create to create this entity. I think we got to give it a chance. So yeah, I'm optimistic because I think there's been a lot of work that's been put into putting an infrastructure in place, but now it's got to fill in. And you got to give it some time, but we're not there yet. And again, with some of the money that was front loaded, and the cap's going to be a little bigger for some people this year, but it'll all settle out. But the reality of it is with the settlement is, regardless, if you might have a $300 million budget, but you got $17 million that you can spend on football, or you can divide. You can spend the whole 20 if you don't want to give anybody else anything. Whatever it is, that goes up 4%, and there's a 10-year deal, and there's a lot that went into this settlement. It's not like it just one person made a decision. This is a lot of people been involved for a long time, and so yeah, I've got faith that. And again, we just haven't dealt with a lot of the complete chaos. I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, we've had about a 3 here. But we're blessed simply because of the continuity that we've had and the culture and the structure and just kind of how we go about doing things. But everybody's been affected. And everybody, I think, is hopeful that we'll have a little bit more order. And because at the end of the day, I think, we've got to educate young people. And I think the number one way to do that is to try to have a little bit better landscape that's conducive to that.
Coach Spiller talked earlier about just creating a brotherhood and having a brotherhood be made out of this running back room. What do you expect and what do you want to see out of the running back room now with the departure of Phil Mafah and then just kind of these new guys stepping into this role?
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. You got, we've had a couple of, dudes around here for a while, and Shipley and Mafah, and those guys are off doing their thing now. And I was just talking with KJ the other day. I think Shipley's had a great off season and a great mini camp and all that, and he's up there doing his Shipley thing, competing his butt off, and I can't wait to see Mafah do his thing. He's going to be a really good pro. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But those have been the workhorses around here for the last few years. So it's just kind of a new era, if you will. And there's always, anytime there's a little bit new, everybody's like, well, you don't know much about anybody, and a lot of times we forget that we got some highly recruited dudes in here, some very high accolade guys that have done a lot of things that we just kind of forget about. They just hadn't really had their opportunity yet. So Adam is the wild card. He's the one senior in the room, and that's Adam. This is I think, and again, y'all know I'm not always right, but sometimes I am. I really think he'll be one of the great college football stories this year. I really believe that. I really believe in Adam Randall. I love this kid. You talk about committed, loves Clemson, and has really bought into this role. I think he's reshaping his career, and I think he's going to be a lot of fun to coach. You just pray and hope he can stay healthy, because I think if he does, I think he's, you're going to see a lot of what we see. He's a very natural guy. It's been a natural transition. You saw what he did in the playoff, and he had like 3 days of practice. But he played a lot of running back growing up. He played mostly running back and quarterback. So it's not something that's foreign to him, but he's really transitioned well. And I'm proud of him. But he's a senior. He's the leader. He's dynamic. You can do a lot with him. I think he checks a lot of boxes for us. But he's got to go do it. If I'm on y'all's side of things, you're over there going, oh, yeah, you're moving a wide out to running back. You people are crazy, whatever. We'll see. But I believe in him, and I think everybody on this staff does. And I think he's going to be a lot of fun. I think he's going to be a great college football story, and pulling for him. And hope he can stay healthy, because I think if he does, he'll do the rest. And then you got a junior in Keith Adams who, y'all have heard me talk about him many times. He's just runs mean, runs angry. You know, he's not as big. He's not a big, tall guy or anything like that. He's not a burner, but you're gonna feel Keith Adams, and you know, he's a guy that I think brings a little something different to the group. And you got 2 sophomores that are unproven in everybody's eyes, and that's in Jay Haynes and Jarvis Green. These are two highly accomplished high school football players that have both made plays at the collegiate level. Now, they've had to deal with Shipley and Mafah, but now it's kind of their time. That's why you recruit these guys. You know, this is their time. And we'll find out if we were right or we were wrong. But that's why we recruited them. That's why they're here. And it's time to play. Jarvis made a big play in the playoff game, and Jay Haynes was, if you really study Jay Haynes, he's pretty freaking productive with his opportunity. He was a very productive player as a redshirt freshman. So those are your 2 sophomores, and obviously Jay's coming off his injury, and you know, we'll see as he goes. But and then you got 2 freshmen. Easy E is a, you know, I think if he hadn't got hurt probably senior year, he was a highly recruited guy, high-ranked guy. And I think Wayne Gallman, when I talk about Easy E, just because he might be a little faster than Gallman, maybe a little bigger, but violent like Wayne Gallman. Violent runner, powerful runner. And then Gid, I thought was the best back in the country last year. He just got here. So, you know, I mean, we're all gonna find out. You know, and we got a really good group of guys, and they got to go compete. But these are competitive dudes that are all at kind of different phases of their journey, and we'll see how it all shakes out. Should be a lot of fun, but we really are confident in our guys in our room.
What's your expectation for someone like Tristan Smith to really get himself really benefit from the strong spin?
Yeah, we went in the spring with 5 dudes. We came out with 6. So he earned that. He earned that this spring. We got 6 dudes that I think can play for anybody. They can play. They can all start. They can play for anybody. We have 6 dudes, and it's been a while since we've had, you know, that type of not just depth, but really they're all experienced. They've all made plays. They're confident. They're a good, selfless group, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, you know, he went from being a guy that we hoped to jumping right into that group. I'd put him right in. He can compete with all them guys. So he's had a great summer. He's a great kid. You know, really glad he's here. Really glad we got him. And you know, especially you play it's a long season. It's competitive, and to know you got that type of depth is really good. And then, you know, you got a 7th guy in Tink who will be defense but cross-train over on offense. So you feel good about that. Obviously, Adam Randall, you know, he's a guy that's always kind of there. You know, he can do a lot of things. Obviously, it's not like he hadn't played 3 years of receiver here, so he knows what it's a pretty nice guy to have as a 7th or 8th guy if you had to have it. And you got Chase Bird and Fulgham and Clay and Clark Sanderson, and you know, got a good group of depth guys that you know, give you some functional dudes as well. And Juju's just getting here. And I hadn't been able to be out on the field with him, so I don't really know anything about him at this point. But it's a good group.
Coach, I remember 2 summers ago you were talking about going on the African safari. Last summer you knocked a couple states off your list with the in-laws. Any plans this summer? Did you do anything, take fun trips or things of that nature?
Not really. We just went down to the beach in Florida and hung out at the lake here in Kiwi, and that's about it. Played some golf and just hung out. That's about it.
Coach, your old quarterback Trevor Lawrence hopped on a podcast a couple of days back, and you were a pretty hot topic. And one of the things that he said was you had the ability to make the locker room believe that they suck regardless of who was playing as a motivational tool. Could you speak a little bit
What
on
podcast
that?
is this?
Trevor
has a podcast?
He was on Pardon My Take with Barstool Sports.
Oh, okay.
You came up a lot if you want to tune in.
All right. Yeah, I missed that. I've been busy. What did he say?
He said that you were the best motivator he had ever been around, and regardless of who had believed in you, you were able to make the locker room believe that they suck and that nobody believed in them. I figured with the expectation comments earlier that you might have to do that again this year with some lofty expectations. So can you talk a little about motivation and how you try and get the most out of a group from that perspective?
Yeah. So I got to humble these guys a little bit. Is that what you're saying? All right. So do I need to pull that up? We can get that for the team meeting here at 3:30. I'll just let Trevor do it. Y'all suck. Somebody send me the link to that so I can give him a shout out. Oh man, I love Trevor. Love Trevor.
14 playoff and expanded to 12, and it seems like they can't seem to decide on what they want to do with certain conferences that won't guarantee bids. What's your stance on where the playoff is right now, and does it need to expand again? Do they need to reseed come playoff time? Where do you stand on this?
I could care less. I just stand at the Clemson podium. That's where I stand, and I just focus on the Tigers. I know everybody wants some kind of clickbait comment or anything. I could care less. I mean, seriously, and I really don't mean that disrespectful. I'm just talking like, man, because none of that's going to help us beat LSU. Like, I just need to, it's 20, we got one season. We have one team 130. One time that we get to have a team 130. One 2025 season. And that's all I'm worried about. I mean, I've said many times, it's a waste of my time anyway because it's gonna all blow up in a few years anyway. That's my prediction. We'll see, but who knows where this thing's going or what people want. But people are gonna do whatever they want to do. And as I've said many times, when there was a BCS, we made it. We got to the BCS down at the Orange Bowl and got in the mix of that, and played Ohio State. And when it was a Final Four, we got there 6 times, 4 Final Twos. And when it went to 12, somehow, some way, with a 56-yarder, we made it. We got there. And, so if it goes to 14 or goes to 16 or 24 or there's a new, I don't know. I have no idea. I just know this. At Clemson, we're going to always have a chance to be in whatever tournament people want to create. Because we got a great program, we have great resources, great support, great kids, and there's really nothing you can't do here. So, as I've said many times, if we can, whatever error there's been, we've been a part of it in some form or fashion, and so whatever's to come, we'll keep doing our part to just make sure that we can be the best Clemson that we can be.
Was talking earlier about trying to figure out the offense's identity early. Is that something that you just have to wait to happen organically, or is there anything specific you're trying to help maybe like manufacture to get that going?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, when we've been at our best, we've had some type of, semblance of balance, in totality. Some games it's different. A lot of that's determined on who you're playing, what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, all that type of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, you want to have some type of balance, and when you look at our best offenses, that's what you've seen. And so, but I think we all know we've got a really good quarterback. He's a very talented player that's confident, that's made big plays. He really understands our system. He's very poised, and we have elite skill. We got some elite skill, a bunch of guys that can make some plays. And this time last year, Wesco hadn't played, TJ hadn't played, Antonio was coming back off an injury. We're going to get Tyler Brown back. He was out last year, so we lost one offensive lineman. We've got really good depth up front, so I think it's just a cohesive group. But as far as what our identity is, we're the dirt raid, as Garrett likes to say. We everything for us comes with being physical and running the football. Creating, and when I say run the football, it's not saying we're going to run the ball 40. It's about being efficient in what you do. It's about being efficient because if you can be efficient, it creates, big play opportunity and creates the balance that you seek. So you know, and then injuries can dictate those things. So yeah, I mean, I think it's you evolve to that. I don't think you just show up day one without any preseason games and play LSU and be the best you. You hope to be the best you coming out of camp at that point, but it's a long season. There's a lot of work to be done. Guys get better. Injuries happen. New guys step in. There's just so much that evolves throughout the course of the season. You look at last year. I mean, you know, I know we came out of the first game and I thought the first half we really matched up great. We had a bad third quarter, but you come out of that game and you're like, man, you feel bad about you don't feel good about where you are. You're frustrated. Then you watch the tape and you say, you know what, we got a chance to be a good team. You know, if we can just keep building. And as it turned out, hey, we won our league and had a good year and set ourselves up for a good season this year. You know, with the amount of teaching opportunities and experience that came from that. But as far as our identity, I mean, we want to be tough. We want to be physical. We want to be explosive. You know, we want to win the line of scrimmage. You know, we want to have a quarterback that goes out there that can make us right. You know, that can beat you with his mind. He can beat you with his heart. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs. That's what I hope our identity is. And we got a group up front that protects the quarterback. We got players that fight for every yard. Again, we can push the ball down the field, stretch it horizontally, vertically, be a very balanced, offense when it's all said and done. I really think that's ultimately what our objective is. And I don't think one game, is going to dictate what the totality of your season is from a identity standpoint.
You'll made the decision to dismiss Marquise Henderson from the program. Just wondering how much you wanted to elaborate on the situation.
Yeah, just didn't work out. I mean, there's a standard here and didn't work out. Gave him opportunity and hate it, but wish him all the best.
A lot of the top of the quarterbacks is going to be started by Cade Klubnik, but for someone like Christopher Vizzina, who's been waiting in the wings, what are you looking for in this fall camp as he continues to develop?
Yeah, same thing. Just keep building, take that next step. We saw that. Y'all haven't seen a lot of him. Again, he came in here his freshman year, and he just sat. He got very few reps. It was kind of but that was our whole pitch to him in the recruiting process. He was 17 years old. That was our whole pitch. Was we're going to sit you a year. We had who'd we have? We had Helms. We had Helms and Cade and maybe DJ was here that one year. I can't remember if I'm correct on that, but we had him sit. Well, then this past year, as a redshirt freshman, he got all the 2 reps, and you practice this game more than you play it. If everything's perfect for us, we're going to get to play on 16 days this year if it's perfect. And so you spend a lot of time practicing. So we saw he treated every practice, and that was my challenge to him. Like, this is your game. Like, this is your game. And by the end of the year, we gave him a lot of the 2-minute, to create some more game situation stuff for him. But I thought he did a great job of just growing throughout the season. And really, bowl prep, I really saw a nice jump in him even more, and I thought he built on it this spring. So he's progressing, and I think he's got a chance to be a really, really good football player. He's big, he's strong, he's accurate, he can make all the throws, he really understands. So the next thing for him is, hopefully he gets more opportunity to play this year, whether it's us manufacturing it or we can have some situations where we can get him in the game some. But the next step for him is just grow that confidence even more from where he was to where he feels like he can go compete to be the guy come January, or prepare every day as the starter, because you never know. He might have to go win game for us, and that has to be his mindset. And that's what I challenged him on this summer is, prepare every day to be the starter.
Coach, it's awesome to be talking to Ben Boulware again. He actually got teary-eyed when he talked about the opportunity that you gave him this morning. But I remember watching him when he was a player out on these practice fields in August. His intensity level was like game day. How contagious is that intensity? How valuable can that be for not only the linebacker room, but for the whole team?
Yeah, enthusiasm is contagious, and he's just got a ton. He's got a ton of it. He's just very enthusiastic about what he does every day. He's passionate. And you get around people that have a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm. That's just contagious. And so he certainly brings that. And he's very knowledgeable. I mean, part of the reason he was a very good player is he was a very knowledgeable player. He was a student of the game, his intangibles magnified his tangibles. And sometimes you got players that have great tangibles, but their intangibles dull those things, and he was just the opposite of that. So he's the same thing as a coach.
With the house settlement with grandfather and walk-ons, have you guys kind of identified some of those walk-ons who maybe were not on the team in the spring that are planning on coming back for this upcoming season?
Yeah, we had to submit a list of, and basically we just designated everybody that was a walk-on, because you really want to protect those guys. Some of those guys will be in our 105, would have been in our 105, but we had several guys that, because I told everybody in January, hey, here's the situation. We're going to have to cut to 105 the first game week, so there's a good chance you're probably not in the 105, but if you want to go through spring, we sure would love you to, but I want to be upfront and transparent with you. You could do all this work, mat drills, spring, summer, and not have a spot. So we had some guys that were like, well, I'm going to move on with life. And then we had some guys that were like, oh, I'm hanging in there anyway. And so I'm just really thankful that for once maybe some common sense prevailed, and the right thing was done there to allow, all these guys to kind of be grandfathered in, so to speak. And so basically the rule was everybody that was on the roster, or guys, like we've always had like a walk-on inventory. We do 2 tryouts a year, got guys on, and like, okay, well, let's put this guy on the OL inventory, this guy's on the linebacker inventory, and, but we kind of had to shut that down because, we knew we were going to 105. So this kind of changed that. We could designate all those guys who were on our roster last year that have eligibility left, designate even a guy like Ethan Anderson, who's not going to, he's going to be like he's going to be like a student assistant in our physical therapy area. He might change his mind in a year, So we designated all those guys in case somebody ever, just because that they carry that designation until their eligibility's up. So I think that was a good thing for all those kids, because I was really dreading that to have to make that cut, and then so it'll be great for those guys. The sad part about it is that 10th grader that maybe has a dream of walking on at Clemson one day. That's frustrating, and we'll see where the world is in 2 or 3 years, but at least we're in a better spot right now than originally when it came out, and these guys are going to have an opportunity, to be a part of their team and continue to build on the hard work that they put in, because they're a very vital group. And then we got several of those guys that would have been in our 105 that are vital parts of our team, but we're going to have to cut a bunch of guys, so now we don't have to do that, so that's a blessing.
How do you think this 4-man defensive front stacks up with some of the other groups you've had in years past?
Say that again?
4-man defensive front?
Yeah, well, I tried to get Dexter Lawrence to walk in here with me. We ain't got nobody looks like that. I said, Dex, it'll go viral. You come in with me. You be my new recruit. So it's fun to see all those guys, Dexter, Austin, Clee, all them guys are in town, Deshaun, KJ's here. They're all here training. Fun to see those guys. But I think it's a really good group. I think the difference from when Dexter and Clee and Austin and Christian, when that group, we're a little deeper. We're a deeper group. If you go back and look at that team, we were really lucky because we were very fortunate from an injury standpoint that year. We had Huggins. We kind of had those 5 guys. We were really, really young behind them and inexperienced. This is a deeper group that I think we got 9 defensive ends, 9 D tackles, scholarship guys that all have a chance to compete, and so a little more depth. We'll see. They ain't that group. I mean, because that group's, they've got their headlines are based on performance. There's just a bunch of potential with this group. I mean, I know everybody projects we got, all these first rounders. Well, the tape don't show that. Last time I saw them out there, it was running back running 80 yards on us, and we couldn't tackle a quarterback, and Citadel lit us up for about 300 yards rushing, so same dudes. So that's what they've earned right now, because you're only as good as your last game, right? It's not about potential. Potentially, they can be really good, but them dudes you asked me about, they got a couple national championships. So they earned that. It's hard to compare them. Only thing I can say is we just have more depth, I think, to work with. But check back in December. You can ask me that question.
Got about 4 or 5 more minutes with Coach if anybody has anything.
Charlie Reed, the soccer player that you added.
Yeah, Ian's brother.
Combo kicker, punter. Kind of what was the thinking in bringing him on?
Yeah, he's a wasn't gonna be on the soccer team and wanted to transition. I think he went out 1 year in his high school year, so he was a guy that kind of qualified because he had reached out and was wanting. We were like, well, we're not gonna have a spot, but then as it turned out, we can grandfather those guys because he was being denied that opportunity basically, and so now so it was just kind of a no-brainer. Great family, and we'll see. I hadn't been on the field with him, but I know he punted and kicked in high school for 1 season, and he's been a soccer guy. Obviously, soccer, their situation's completely different from ours, because their world was. What did they get? 8? I don't know. What did they get? 8 scholarships or something? What was? Anybody know? 8 or 9, whatever it was, and you had to split that up. So you tried to find some guys. Okay, you get 10%. Well, now all of a sudden you get full scholarships. Well, you can maybe go recruit some guys a little differently than the guy that you were going to get in for 10%. So that's changed some dynamics on some of the other sports rosters, and so I think he was affected by that for sure. And so good opportunity for him. We'll see where he's at.
Did you consider taking a punter in the portal at
No.
all after spring?
No. So if we're terrible, y'all can all blame me. Boy, we're bad, and y'all can all blame me. So if Jack McCoon, if one of them don't get it done, it won't be nobody but Swinney's fault. And y'all can get the headlines ready. But if they turn out pretty good, write them too. It goes both ways. So. Just like I didn't consider taking a portal quarterback last year, because I believed in Klubnik and CV, and I believe in Jack, and I believe in McCoon, and we're gonna see what happens. And maybe Robert Gunn, shows up and wins it. I don't know, but I believe in the guys we got.
How's Ian Schieffelin progressing in Thailand?
I had no idea. I got to work with him out in kids camp. That was fun. That was a lot of fun being out on the high school camp and the kids camp. He worked all 2 weeks because that was a good opportunity to teach him drills and footwork and stuff like that. It's been fun. I think he's blended in great with the guys. He's going to be in my senior meeting. That's going to be kind of weird. So I have no idea. I know I do know he's as advertised when it comes to he's athletic. He's got natural ball skills. I thought he would. Guys been high pointing balls against 6'8", 6'9", 7-footers, and now he's high pointing balls against 6'2" guys. That should be an advantage. So we'll see. We got to. The expectation for him is not that he's going to walk in here and be. What's the tight end? What's Antonio Gates? Maybe he turns out to be that 3 years from now. But the expectation is, hey, let's find a role. Let's reestablish a football foundation. Let's find a role and let's see where it goes. I don't know. He might catch the game winner in the national championship this year. I have no idea. I'm just excited to get to work with him, help him, evaluate him, and then I can see, well, here's what we need to do. And then he no matter what he does this year, he won't be the best version of himself. But this is about really creating opportunity for himself. And he's fully committed to that. So I'm excited about that. Really am. He's not going to forget how to play basketball. He he could go back to basketball, but I think this is a path that I think is going to create a real opportunity for him. I really do. I mean, this ain't some rookie slappy rolling in here. This is a high-level athlete, incredibly successful at a very competitive level, that's skilled, and he's big and athletic. So usually that stuff translates, but I mean, we just gotta get going. I have no idea outside of that.
Got time for one more, Phil Mafah? Anybody?
Coach, how has it been developing your relationship with an outside guy like Tom Allen as compared to promoting from within with a guy like Wes Goodwin?
I mean, I've known Tom. We've talked probably for 7-8 years, on the phone. It was like Charlie's Angels, I just hadn't met him. Look that up, Google that, Charlie's Angels. You probably hadn't seen that. How old are you, like 24 maybe? Did I hit it? You're 19? You definitely don't know what Charlie's Angels is. Back in the day, the Angels, they'd call in, Charlie'd give them their assignment and all this stuff, and you just heard them, right? But that Bosley, wasn't Bosley in the mix too? But you never saw Charlie. I talked to Tom a lot because when he became an interim, we had the same agent, that was my first conversation. Then just some conversations, some texts a few times over the career, but no different than anybody else. I mean, I've hired a lot of people from outside our building. I've hired a lot of people from inside our building. I always start there. That's where I always start, forever and ever and ever. That ain't ever going to change. I'm always start, from within. And if I got a guy that's, or a female or a gal, in whatever role it is, that's earned it and deserves the opportunity, that's where it's always going to start. But sometimes it's not feasible, and then you go and hire somebody.
I got the feeling you didn't start your conversations with Tom by saying, "Hello, Angels."
That's for sure. That's for sure.
All right, thank you, Coach.
He's going to be going, what's your name?